Hello Banaka, this is JoyGirl, and let's get straight into this huge jam-packed chapter 1049. Seriously, there is a lot. But it's funny because we got so much, and yet simultaneously it also felt like we didn't get enough. I mean, it was definitely very exciting to see finally some of the moments that we have really been waiting a long time for, but the way in which a lot of these moments were handled was just quite brief or just happened so quickly that I can't help but get the feeling that we have just seen the tip of the iceberg. You know, just a teaser for what's to come. But first of all, let's go to the cover story. So the journey or the adventures of the Germa 66 seems to be continuing on Whole Cake Island, and with everything that's been happening on that front, it is quite a lot of fun. It almost feels like the revenge special of the Vinsmoke family. Of course, we still have no confirmation as to who those two mystery figures were, because hello, there is a new mystery or a new chaotic event happening in town. You know, what with the fire and the breaking out of the Vinsmoke brothers. I mean, seriously, the Charlotte family just can't seem to catch a break. But again, it really is a lot of fun seeing all of this unfold at Whole Cake Island, because when we were first introduced to the cover story, I was expecting to go somewhere else and I wasn't expecting to stay on Big Mom's territory, so I am really enjoying where this is all going. But anyways, jumping into the chapter, and let's start with the flashback. And I mean, the flashback. Although I suppose, you know, can we really call it that? As most of you will probably know, I have been saying almost every chapter for the past God knows how long, how excited I am for the flashback and how I just cannot wait for the flashback. And so I really can't believe that we have finally gotten the flashback now. But then again, I also have to ask, have we really gotten the flashback? Because I really do think there is a lot more coming. I mean, most of all, I really can't believe this is how we got the flashback. It was really more of a condensed montage of an actual extended backstory that we haven't yet seen. Really just like a highlight reel of just the key defining moments of Kaido's past. You know what this actually felt like? It felt like those montages that we get usually at the end of a character arc, where we just get to see glimpses and bits and pieces of moments that we have seen before, moments that we know were very important to the character, you know, usually in a situation where we know the full backstory and we're just getting to see just some key moments, just sort of as a reminder of how we got here. Except of course in this case, it's the other way around. Because up until this moment, we really knew quite little about Kaido's backstory. And you know what? Even now, even after all the flashback moments that we got in this chapter, I think we can still say that we really know quite relatively little about Kaido's backstory. Which is why I do think that we are still going to get more of Kaido's backstory, and I think this is what the next couple of chapters are really going to hone in and focus on. And I think this chapter was almost just like a trailer, you know, for the movie Kaido, the man who has been waiting for Joy Boy, coming to you next fall. And in which case, I do have to say that the trailer did certainly work, because what we did get out of this chapter, it certainly did whet my appetite. And to be fair, we did get some very juicy details that we didn't know previously. You know, details that I actually think did quite a good job in further fleshing out Kaido's character and also simultaneously really raising intrigue into Kaido as a character. I mean, for example, the fact that he's a citizen of the Vodka Kingdom, I mean, that could possibly explain some of his current drinking problems. Or a fact that I personally enjoyed the most, the fact that he's been intentionally captured just so that he can get a feed. I mean, that detail really does quite a lot in shaping him up as a much more likable character. You know, really paints him out to be like a Chad lad. And I think that's actually how he has been portrayed in a lot of ways throughout this flashback. I mean, of course, we got some other really intriguing moments as well. Rocks, for example, that silhouette of potentially Rocks wearing a straw hat. Although I do have to say that I personally also thought that that could have been Big Mom, a younger Big Mom, you know, wearing her cowboy hat, the cowboy style hat that we've seen her wear previously in the past. But really what I was interested in the most is the fact that what I have been suspecting about Kaido's past now really does seem to be coming into fruition. The fact that his people were oppressed by the world government or the celestial dragons, and this is really what shaped his worldview. Although I do have to say that I wasn't expecting him to have been kicked out and abandoned by his own country, and that's a really key fact in my opinion because it helps you understand his underlying anger issues a little bit better. And I do have to say that even those early moments of his childhood that we got in this chapter, I don't think that's quite the full story there, because Kaido easily nerfed the rest of his countrymen in terms of size, and he was really the only one that seemed to have Oni-like features. So I am really interested in delving into his childhood further and, finding out details as to whether he really did originate from Vodka Kingdom. But something I did notice about Kaido's childhood is how much it seems to parallel Big Mom's own childhood. Standing out from the rest of the children, being an outcast, not being wanted, abandoned. I personally took this to be the reason or part of the reason why Big Mom seems to have a soft spot for Kaido, or their close relationship, their somewhat close relationship in general. Anyways, these are all things that I would really like to see fleshed out further, and so that we can just really delve into his backstory. And I really am quite sure that we will get it. So for anyone who's been saying or who's been feeling that Kaido's backstory should have been at least 2 to 3 chapters, I'm just going to say again that I do think that this chapter was almost just like a teaser trailer. And really, we will be getting the full Kaido story very, very soon. Another moment which I personally suspect that will be extended or completed, or I don't even know, just somehow we will get more of, is of Momonosuke. So obviously Momonosuke was able to land Onigashima in this chapter, and safely, without damaging Wano, without damaging and injuring the Flower Capital citizens. Because yes, he did pull through at the last moment and was able to conjure up his own flame clouds, flame clouds big enough to transport Onigashima, and yes, it was exactly what was needed in order for Luffy to have his moment. And yet at the same time, I don't know, it may just have been my own personal expectations for what we would see of Momonosuke in this moment, but I personally found this landing of Onigashima somewhat underwhelming. Hiyori's speech against Orochi had greater gravitas than this. Even other feats of Momonosuke throughout this arc, especially throughout the Onigashima raid, even those moments had greater gravitas than this. And really, that isn't to say that Momonosuke wasn't coming in clutch. Especially given the fact that Raizo and Jinbei's tidal waves really snuffed out Kaido's flame clouds, which meant that Momonosuke was going to have to create those huge flame clouds just by himself, big enough to hold Onigashima. That really is all very, very impressive. It's just that I was expecting something more, some greater focus dedicated to this moment. Larger panels, perhaps double spread panels. Just greater build up and focus on this heroic moment of Momonosuke really stepping into his own. Because what we actually got in this chapter was Momonosuke's moment sandwiched in between what was happening between Luffy and Kaido. Really, greater focus was on Luffy rather than Momonosuke. Really, it was Luffy versus Kaido that was receiving more attention and greater focus, and it was Luffy who was getting those big bravado moments with his showcasing his determination, getting his big inspirational speech, that dialogue, really just a lot of hype and the type of stuff that I was expecting to see from Momonosuke when it was his time to land the island. Which is actually why a part of me is left wondering whether we have another Momonosuke moment coming. Will there be something else that he has to achieve? And if he does, maybe then that will make it even more impressive, because obviously he's out like a light right now, and understandably so. Conjuring huge flame clouds of that size, of that nature, is no easy work. And again, he does definitely deserve full recognition for that, and yes, it did do a lot in helping Luffy take down Kaido. But again, I don't know, I'm just waiting and just holding out to see whether there will still be something more for Momonosuke. But anyways, let's move on and let's discuss Luffy versus Kaido. Now, with all the surrounding circumstances, with the dialogue, with Kaido Kaido's little mini flashback moment thinking about Joy Boy, which we will discuss a little further a little later, but also with all the lanterns and seeing, the wishes and the desires of the Wano citizens. With all of this going on, I can understand why some people think that this is really now the end of Luffy versus Kaido. But personally, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I think that this is just the beginning. I think this is just, again, a teaser trailer. And I really do feel like the fight will continue just a little bit longer. Most likely after Kaido's flashback just gets fleshed out a little further. Now, this isn't to say that Luffy wasn't impressive in this chapter, because he was. Seeing the clash of haki, seeing his fist just plummet Kaido down, that was really a very, very nice touch. Very nice parallels to Kid and Law versus Big Mom, and really I quite enjoyed the motif of that spiral symbol, that symbol that we know Oda does hold some sort of affinity to, because that was used quite a lot in this moment between Luffy versus Kaido, which I don't know, I just feel like may have a bit more of a symbolic meaning as to why it was used, but maybe I just feel that way because of all the mentions of Joy Boy in this segment. And really this focus and dialogue surrounding Joy Boy is probably what captivated most of my interest. Kaido knows who Joy Boy is, except the only thing that he knows is that it's the man who's going to beat him one day. Which really excites me because that's something that I've been saying for a while, that this is why Kaido is waiting, this is why Kaido is at Wano, that Kaido is waiting for Joy Boy. It somewhat puts into perspective why Kaido was so upset at Oden's death. Maybe because he thought Oden was the one that could be Joy Boy. But most of all, I think this is the reason why the fight between Luffy and Kaido is not over yet. I don't think that the fight will end until Kaido recognizes Luffy as Joy Boy. And to be fair, it does seem like we are getting there. I mean, the fact that we saw Kaido have this mini flashback to his conversation with King about Joy Boy as he was being plummeted down by Luffy. I mean, I think that does suggest that Kaido may be now seeing Luffy as Joy Boy, but I don't think that quite satisfies it. I don't think we've quite gotten there yet. And now, with the extra pieces, those fragmented bits of Kaido's flashback that we've gotten, maybe the true moment when Kaido will fully recognize Luffy as Joy Boy is when this whole flashback, this backstory comes to light and there is a great ideological battle that is won out. Which, as you know, is something that I have been saying for a while, that this battle will ultimately come down to a battle of ideals, of beliefs, and of values. And with all the fragmented pieces of Kaido's flashback that we have seen so far, whether that be in this chapter or whether that be in previous chapters seen through the lens of other characters, it does seem like we are just getting bits and pieces of a story about exploring Kaido as a character with abandonment issues, some issues to do with self-worth maybe. Something that's very clear is his very fixated idea about the survival of the fittest, and maybe the lesson that Luffy is going to teach Kaido, and the lesson through which Luffy will beat Kaido, maybe the lesson that Luffy will teach Kaido is that he can't just use his own previous bad experiences and his own pain that he's endured as an excuse to treat others just as badly, and he can't just use the excuse of wanting to die to subject others to a similar sort of pain. But something that's really quite bizarre is almost as if Kaido, everything that he's done at Wano up until this point has been just for the sole purpose of attracting Joy Boy. Really creating a hell on earth, a terrible place where people are subjected to slavery and torture, a place that will attract our salvation, liberating figure like Joy Boy. And Kaido has just done this for the sole purpose of wanting to fight Joy Boy and just prove himself. And I'm sure all of this are just bits and pieces for now, and we really are going to find out the full story as to why Kaido is this way, and I really just cannot wait. Because clearly we don't have the full story yet, and I'm just going to repeat myself for, what is it, like the third time now? It's coming. I can really feel it. I feel it in my bones. So if this chapter didn't quite satisfy you in terms of what you were expecting from these moments, such as Luffy versus Kaido, or the end of Luffy versus Kaido, of Momonosuke's moment at Onigashima, or of Kaido's flashback, and really, who expected all of these moments to be bundled into just one chapter? But like I said, this chapter was really just like a trailer. But it's a good trailer because now I am really excited. I am super excited to wait and watch and enjoy the full damn show. But anyways, those are just my thoughts on chapter 1049. I'd be super excited to hear yours, so please do let me know by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to like and share the video. Please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because we are now facing another chapter break, and I know these things are rough, but believe me, they go way faster if you are subscribed, because I will then present you with some ongoing One Piece discussions. But anyways, you can also join our Joy Fleet Discord server or even become a Patreon member. And I do want to thank all our patrons for help supporting the channel. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.